In life, relationships are unavoidable, which, let's face it, seems better than being single, which is undesirable. We all have our non-negotiables. Maybe you'd like someone who's agreeable, dependable, and relatable. Or maybe you think that's boring and are all about someone who's sociable, excitable, and unforgettable. Or maybe what you want is something indefinable and intangible. Or maybe you don't even want to date, but you'd like to be available without necessarily being attainable. Got that? But what if the whole dating thing isn't about finding someone acceptable, but becoming someone who's admirable? Because when we take our focus off of them and place it on us, we become likable, preferable, valuable. Dateable.
Hi there. Welcome to the first of several parent companion videos that go along with our brand new Dateable series on Sunday nights. First off, let me share my heart with you on the real focus of this series. At its core, we want all of our students to have the tools that they need to have healthy relationships in their life, whether it be with you in the parent-child relationship, with their friends, neighbors, other family members. We want all of their relationships to be as healthy as they possibly can be. But yes, this is a dating series. The reason being is that we're seeing that our students are increasingly focused on this issue. We understand that you are having ongoing conversations with your student about these things. We trust that those are going well and that is happening. And so in the midst of that, we also understand that our students are asking these questions. They're asking them of themselves, of their friends, even of their small group leaders, even if they're not asking them of you. Now, I know, I'm talking to a colleague of mine who happens to be single, that he's had interactions with middle school students. The first question that they ask him is, "Do you have a girlfriend?" And it's not because they're just interested in his life, but they are trying to put him into a frame of reference in their own mind. The things that they think about are important. And so when they ask him if he has a girlfriend, they're essentially sharing with us what's most important to them. When you get to know someone in your life, what are some of the questions that you ask of people to get to know them? Those are things that you find important typically. And so our students are doing the same thing. And so when they're asking the question of someone they know is single, do you have a girlfriend or do you have a boyfriend? It's because that they want to know where they measure up or where that issue is important in their lives and how they put that person into a proper framework in their mind. So whether we like it or not, our students are asking these questions, they're struggling with these issues, and so we want to be a voice, a healthy voice in their lives about these issues. And so that is the heart behind why we're dealing with this issue on Sunday nights and why we feel like it's important to deal with these issues. Now I want to share with you as we go along in this series, we are doing some targeting in our social media of our students in regards to this issue. You may have seen some of the posts that we have put up in the last couple of days since our first session of this series. And this last weekend was talking all about focusing on the topic, how can I care about you? Taking the focus off of ourselves in relationships and putting the focus on the other person. And I'll get to that in just a minute, but I just wanted to share with you, we are targeting social media posts specifically to the sessions to give students some things to think about during the week as they're processing what they're hearing from us. Now, in my personal social media, and those social media handles will be on the screen, my personal social media, I'm directing those towards you, the parent. So I'm putting up quotes from things that I'm studying, that I'm reading, that I think are important to your parenting. strategic parenting that you can use, conversations that you can start with your student that allows you to kind of dictate the conversation. And that's what we want as parents. We want to be able to have these conversations, to be able to shift the conversation away from the things that they're hearing at school, the things they're reading on the internet, back towards the values that we have as parents and the values that we have in our family. And that's what's most important, right? That our relationship with Christ is dictating the values that we live inside of as a family. And we want that to be the most important voice in our child's development, our students' development. And so those things are going on social media right now. You can check out my social media portals, whether it be on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook, and see some of those things that I'm posting that I believe will be most beneficial to you, things that you can put into practice right now in the conversations that you're having with your child, your students. So to get back to our week 1 emphasis, we looked at Mark chapter 12, specifically in verse 31, but backed up to verse 30, where Jesus is talking about the most important commandment. The religious leaders of the time were trying to trap Jesus consistently into being contradictory to what they understood the Old Testament to say. And of course, Jesus came to fulfill the Old Testament and to bring in a new covenant. And so Jesus' thoughts took what the Old Testament teaching to a new place, to a new level. And so in Mark 12, verse 30 and 31, he says that, of course, the greatest commandment is love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. And then he takes it to the next level and he says, but the second part of that is love your neighbor as yourself. And so we focused on this idea. What does the Bible say about dating? Well, specifically, the Bible doesn't really say anything about dating. It doesn't mention dating. And I stress with our students that was because dating wasn't a concept during Jesus' time. And I told them that if they lived in Jesus' time, that you as a parent would be arranging their marriage about the time that they were 14 years old. And so dating was not the way relationships formed in Jesus' time. And so I stressed that to them and said that what we can learn from the Bible and from Jesus' teaching about dating is what are the guidelines for all relationships. And so we start there. The basis, the foundation for our dating relationships, or any relationship for that matter, needs to be in Mark 12, verses 30 and 31. We have to love God and love people. And so then I asked them, how do we apply this to our dating lives? First, it has to change the way we think. We can't look at dating separately anymore. And when we do that in our culture, dating has its own little compartment in our lives. We have our personal life and we have our work life. And if we're a single adult, we have our dating life. And for whatever reason in our culture, we don't merge those together. We also have our Christian life. And for whatever reason, a lot of Christian people don't merge their work life, their personal life, their Christian life, and their dating life. And so I challenged them to think differently about the ways they've compartmentalized their life. So I asked them what their priorities are. Is it God? Is it yourself? Is it others? And I said, when we put God first and others second, it changes how we approach every relationship. And that includes dating. Because dating in our culture has become very me-focused. We ask, what's in it for me? What will that person do for me? Will they make me cooler around my friends? What's the focus? The idea in integrating our relationship with Jesus into every other area of our life is that Jesus is calling us out of being me-focused and into being neighbor-focused, being people-focused people. And first and foremost, he wants us to think of the other person, not ourselves. Instead of asking what's in it for me, we ask, what can I do to love, care, and treat other people in my life with respect? And so that changes how we date. So we ask new questions, where it used to be, what can I get out of it? What is this person going to do for me? we start asking questions like, how can I protect this person from regret? How can I best keep them from having baggage in their life? How can I best treat their emotions? How can I show them with the greatest amount of respect? And how can I protect this person from being hurt? Ultimately, the question becomes, what can I do to care about you? We want our students to ask that question in every relationship, especially dating relationships. And so where I left this with our students was this. First and foremost, their responsibility is to respect you, to honor you, to obey you as their parents. I reminded them of what Paul wrote in Ephesians 6:1, that our job is to obey our parents because God says that's the right thing to do. And I shared with them that you know what's best for them as they are a part of your family, as you're a part of a family together. And I stressed to them that some of you have rules on dating that they know about, that you've shared with them, and some of our students are just learning your rules about dating. And some of our students are allowed to date, and some of them are not. And so then I gave them some application. I asked them to put God's desires for them, and their date first. We best love others when we love God well. And I told them point blank, if their relationship with Jesus Christ was not on solid footing, then they were not ready to date. Now, that's just one criteria. I'm not giving that to them as the only criteria. You obviously as a parent get to decide when your student dates, and we totally respect that. But I wanted them to understand that if they didn't understand who they were in Jesus, then they were not prepared to understand who they could be in a relationship with another person, specifically dating. And then I shared with them, as Pastor Will has said numerous times, God's love language is obedience. And so when we obey God, we're loving God well. So we have to start there. And then that obedience and that relationship with God pours out into our other relationships. So we treat other people with respect. We're asking, how can I care about you? We're making sure that the relationships we have don't lead to regret. We're making sure that those relationships don't lead to baggage. And so that's our focus. So I asked all of our students to practice God's love language of obedience. And that when the time comes for them to be in a dating relationship, they'll be ready to put God first and that other person second, because that's what God asks of us. We think about, when we do that, we think more about the words that we say. We think more about our actions. And in dating, we think more about how we act physically with another person. And over the next 3 weeks, we're going to dive into those specific things. This next week, our intern Josh Schneider is going to bring a conversation, a talk to our students about what it means, what it looks like to have face-to-face communication in a world that is increasingly asking us to do things mobile. And so we're going to get into best practices on devices and communication and what it looks like to be healthy human beings that are following Jesus Christ and willing to have hard conversations face to face. And so we're going to hopefully give our students some tools that they can take and put into practice in that area of their lives as well. And next week I'll bring a companion video that helps you walk through that. We'll talk about what it looks like for your student to have a smartphone, whether that's a good idea or not. We'll go back over some things that I've previously given you as resources. If you go on our website at acfellowship.org, web address will be on the screen, you can find our parent resources, and you have an opportunity to download cell phone contract and some other practical things that you can read that'll help you navigate what it looks like for your student to have a phone or a smartphone. We want to help you be a part of this conversation. We want you to be in the driver's seat. We would love for you to have these conversations with your students, and then us be the companion and walk alongside of you. as you do that. And so the ways that we can help you, we want to do that. Finally, that final weekend of this series, we are going to be talking about God's plan for sex. And again, I want you guys to be in the driver's seat here. So move towards that conversation with your students sooner rather than later if you haven't opened that door. But it's not a conversation that you can have once. You've got to have continual ongoing conversations with your student about these issues. One resource that I want to give you is this book right here. It's called 5 Things Every Parent Needs to Know About Their Kids and Sex. It is written from a Christian perspective by Anne-Marie Miller. Great resource. I've been bringing quotes from this book on my social media. So if you're wondering where those quotes are coming from, some of them are coming from this book right here. Great resource in my own parenting to get me thinking about the conversations that I need to be having with my kids. Even if you have kids younger than your student, they have siblings, younger siblings, this book walks through in every stage where you need to be having conversations about these issues with your kids. And so this is a great resource. I highly recommend it. A web address will be on the screen for you to find this on Amazon if you're interested. I believe it's available on Prime, so if you're a Prime member, you can get that in a couple of days. You can have it here and you can start working through it so that you can start having these conversations immediately. Once again, we love the opportunity to speak to your students, to work, to partner with you, to help them enrich their growing relationship with Christ. That's our goal. Our goal is to have students that are desiring to go deeper with Jesus, who are asking the hard questions about what Jesus is asking of them and how that applies to their life and where they can make changes that are going to benefit their relationship with Jesus and therein benefit every relationship that they have. I would love for you to contact me if you have questions. My email, again, and my social media is on the screen. Contact me, please, if you have questions, concerns. I would love to walk through those with you. Hope you have a great week. Looking forward to another great weekend with your students and being able to partner with you even more.